Okay, now I'm supposedly live. All right. Are we good? Oh, there it is. Finally. All right. All right, there it is. Cool. Sounds great. All right. Can you guys hear me now? Thank God. All right. So, yeah, setting up a live event is different than just setting up a basic live stream. Sorry about that. I still don't understand YouTube's interface. So, well, that'll always cost us some time. So, how are you guys this evening? All right. Far better now. All right. Now I can actually relax and stop sweating and stop going, oh my God, it's not going to work. Nothing worse than this. All right. So, how many of you watched or how many of you saw the blog I did the other day on the Russian mining coin? Because that to me is the essence of where we're going and why the cryptos are going to be so insanely important going forward. So the Russians announced a couple of weeks after the sanctions law, or a week after the sanctions law goes into effect, that they're going to spend $100 million, or they probably already have spent most of it, to be honest with you, on a Bitcoin mining rig, using their spare electricity grid capacity to mine Bitcoins at 1.2 cents a kilowatt hour. Now, that's not what's interesting, right? What's interesting, ultimately, is that we're losing frames left and right. What the fuck is going on tonight? I don't know. All right, well, this is really annoying. I felt like I was losing frames when I was on Periscope earlier. I don't know if the stream was bad then too. So, wow, this is not keeping up at all. This is not good. Hold on for a second. I'm going to have to go figure out what's going on. You guys are going to have to bear with me. I'm going to need like 10 minutes. All right? I'll be back. I know you can hear me, but I'm not going to do this. This is going to be a stream I'm losing 15% of the frames that are coming through. It doesn't make any sense to me. So, it doesn't look like it's capable of maintaining. Coming through at 480p for any length of time. I don't know what's going on. I have plenty of bandwidth to do this because we did this the other night. Yeah, it looks like it's just losing frames every on a regular basis. So I'm not happy about this at all. Not at all. But I don't know. I'm not sure what I can do about it at this point. Hold on, but I'm going to need you to hold on. We are back. I figured out what the problem was. All right, there it is. We're back. And I know why. Because my daughter was staying up past her bedtime watching YouTube. I had to go shut it down, and I wasn't going to do that live. That looks good. That looks like a stable stream. That's what it's supposed to look like. All right, so we have good sound. We should have good video now. Yes? Okay. I knew exactly what it was when I said I'll be back in a minute. I knew exactly what it was. Earlier in the day, we had no bandwidth. We had like really bad bandwidth all day, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. I was checking my router, and I'm watching my I'm looking at I'm looking at the settings on Windows 10. I'm like, is Microsoft pushing down a freaking update and not telling me what's going on? And it turns out no. My wife's phone was uploading all of the video we took last night at Sophie's testing, because she tested for a blue belt last night at her Taekwondo class. And oh man, I'm like, where did all my bandwidth go? And finally she's like, oh, let me. As I checked and I unplugged every Ethernet cable from the router, I'm like, this has got to be wireless. Camille walks over and she shuts off her phone. I'm like, puts it in airplane mode. And oh, look, the router is no longer pushing up, gigs worth of information. I'm like, because we're on DSL. So I don't have a lot of up. I don't have a lot of up, right? I've only got a little bit of up and a lot of down. So yeah, I'm going to go pull my US Robotics 14.4 out of the closet, and I'm going to plug it in to my ISA. No, fuck that. All right, let's get started. So what's important, and this is terrible because this is just killing me, but what's important here to understand is that the Russians just told everybody that they're going to make Bitcoin part of their reserves. They're going to get around all the capital controls. They're going to get around the sanctions, because now they start mining Bitcoin and they start issuing local tokens, Russian miner coins, which, by the way, are going to pay a dividend based on 18% of top line revenue. This is the part that nobody was in there. I'm like, this is the first thing I glommed onto. I looked at this and I went, they're not going to distribute bottom line earnings. They're going to issue top line revenue. Because this is not about this is not, if it was bottom line revenue, it's like, oh Christ, it's going to be a scam. The oligarch that's in charge is going to, because earnings are fungible. You can always, hide all sorts of things in, operation costs and cost of goods sold and yada yada. I mean, you can do all sorts of stuff. Just ask the Clintons how they, ask the Clintons when they, took all that money for Haiti to rebuild Haiti, right? So, yeah, that 18% was, yeah, exactly. Like, they're going to distribute 18% of top line revenue. They're just saying flat out, we're just going to incentivize you to buy these coins as as not only an investment, but just as something to hold on to and as a savings plan. Well, it's not just that that Bitcoin price will begin to decline. No, what the Russians are going to do is that they'll have it. They estimate they have enough computing power to throw at this, to grab up to 30% of the Bitcoin mining industry. Which, by the way, right now is held like 70% of it is held by like 3 or 4 groups of people, or like two mining. I think it was something. It was at Ethereum. There's like 70% of Ethereum is all mined by like 2 pools. So Dan Larimer and the designer of BitShares and Steem and EOS was and Vitalik Buterin, the designer of Ethereum, are getting into a pissing contest about whose system is better, because Buterin is saying, well, we have plenty of bandwidth and and there's going to be there's too much centralization under EOS because of the segregated witness system and yada yada and all of this stuff. And Dan's like, yeah, but only 2 mining pools control 70% of Ethereum. If we have 50 witnesses controlling 70, controlling most of the EOS mining, or verification, that's still far better in reality than yours is in theory. So I'll take theory over practice every day of the week, right? Russia has lower cooling costs too. That's good. That's really freaking funny. China has to put all their servers in the Himalayas, right? That's great. I like that. Very nice. So, the whole thing becomes everyone's incentivized to start holding these freaking to go and grab these things, because they're going to throw off a tremendous yield. So this is another way of and so the question that I got from one of my from somebody who was following me on Seeking Alpha was not really very much stormy. We just the idea that the Russian mining coin is incentivized is designed to incentivize people. It's going to have tremendously low overhead because they're paying out 18% of top line revenue. So you know what you're going to get. Instead of a server room, yeah, exactly. And they're incentivized to go and grab, distribute, hold the coins and use them. So they're putting them into service as this tremendous bond. And in effect, it's almost like it's a coupon payment. Well, but the other thing you have to really start to think about now is that puts the whole thing, the whole operation into the realm of becoming a reserve asset. So now if people want to invest in Russia and they're not allowed to buy Russian stocks, they're not allowed to buy Russian bonds, I don't care about the price increase. It doesn't matter. It's not going to go into effect anytime soon. That's not what's important. Somebody else asked the same thing. It's that the Russians are going to control a significant portion. If they're successful, they're going to control a significant portion of the Bitcoin mining pool, right? And it's a tremendous amount of capital inflow to Russia. And it's going to allow for a tremendous amount of cross-border capital inflows to Russia that get around the U.S. sanctions. This is significant because it's not that they're only going to invest, they're going to have a $100 million stake in Bitcoin. No, they're going to be mining 30% of the Bitcoins they're going to be, getting all those transaction fees and all of that and all of that stuff. And then using that to power the tokens themselves. What is the North Korean missile company says? I have no idea, dude. So, as the token itself should accrete value over time, depending on we don't know much at this point. How many tokens they're going to issue, how often, what's the inflation rate going to be, or any of these other things. But just in general, they can structure this in such a way as to be a tremendous. It becomes one of these things. It's a tremendous incentivization system to the tremendous incentivization system. I just got an email from somebody to create capital inflows into Russia over time. And this is what dovetails back to the question that I got from I don't know. They just announced it today, the other day. It dovetails nicely with what the questioner, the commenter I got on Seeking Alpha asked about Russia wanting to back the ruble with gold, silver, and or oil. I'm like, no, you got to look at the cryptocurrency space. If they back the ruble with gold, they have one of two choices. Either they got to issue a tremendous amount of debt because the ruble is going to see tremendous capital inflows, and therefore, in order to hold the ruble at a particular price point, they're going to have to issue debt so that the rubles can be recycled into debt, right? The same way the rest of the system works today, right? If you have massive capital inflows, you got to, in order to maintain the purchasing power of your currency, so that the currency doesn't change exchange rate too much. You have to give the people a vessel into which to dump rubles or dollars or whatever. So that's where the bid on the bond market comes from, and then from there you then trade the bonds and the currencies against each other and all this other stuff. But but if you were to back the ruble, if they were to back the ruble with gold, okay, they either have to. Gold is so fucking undervalued that would make the ruble tremendously undervalued, and everybody would want to buy it. And so either you have to sell the gold to maintain, or you have to sell bonds and debt, and then you're into the same problem. You're not really backing by gold at that point. You're backing by dollars, or you're just going to allow for tremendous appreciation of the ruble, which is going to destroy in the short term will destroy the pricing system within the country, and there will be all sorts of crazy volatility. And just an unbelievable deflationary spiral. Now, Russia is one of the few countries that could get away with this for these two reasons. One, they have an export. Most of their exports are in oil and gas. 67, 2/3 of their exports are oil and gas. Not 2/3 of their economy. 2/3 of their exports are oil and gas. Okay. If nothing is going to change the value of the amount of oil and gas they export, other than demand for it. Okay, it's an inelastic demand. The question is, how many rubles are they going to get in return, right? And if the Russian government is paying their salaries in rubles and everything, it becomes a nightmare to manage. They're going to lose money if the ruble appreciates too much. They're not going to get enough rubles in to be able to balance their budget. If they don't have enough, rubles, then they can't balance their budget. Then they're going to have to run a primary budget deficit, which will force them to issue debt, and everything just kind of gets crazy. But if you circumvent that by creating a crypto that works just like a bond, but allows for capital inflow without affecting the ruble, now you can have a two-tiered monetary system, and you can wean the Russian economy off of fiat currency and onto the cryptocurrency, and effectively get the same thing, because you now have effectively, and then that still is going to be backed by the Russian gold reserves and everything else. And so now you have this system where you can actually absorb the capital inflow without affecting the price of the currency that you use to run your country. And it allows the banking, and you'll wind up with a dual currency system or a dual monetary system, and which is where we're going anyway. And so what the Russians are doing by announcing this and by making this abundantly clear, and then we have Master Chain is online as well, where they're going to start moving the entire banking system and much of the Russian government bureaucracy, like the tag offices and the permitting offices and all that shit, title offices. It's someone very close to Putin. I don't remember his name. So they're creating an Ethereum blockchain token system called Master Chain, which is going to start basically doing away with things like notaries. All the things because Ethereum can already do this. Everything that you need a notary public for, you can obviate on the Ethereum blockchain, including escrow, including traditional like escrow services and everything else. So much of what we do that requires lawyers and all of this stuff, none of this stuff is necessary. It's all human. It's all of this shit is friction in such a tremendous way. It's all just lost due to friction, and it's all crazy rent-seeking shit. And the whole lawyer class is rightfully scared because 90% of what they do, the writing of contracts and all that, can all be handled on the Ethereum blockchain. To be honest with you, most of the contracts that are signed anymore are fucking boilerplates people pull off of legal forms. They pull off the internet. They change a couple of things. They change a couple of clauses to fit the situation, and then they sign them. Brandon Ike, I don't know who that is. It's gonna be. Is it like an ad? It's gonna be like an AdSense network. Again, this stuff's going to be moving so fast that the governments are not going to be able to catch up. And good on the Russians for getting way ahead of the curve on this. Because I've been thinking about this for a couple of years now. We really haven't talked about it, but I have. Oh, he's the guy who invented JavaScript. I've been thinking about this for a couple of years now. How can the Russians they're setting themselves up perfectly for so many things. So at what point do you make yourself a destination for capital flight from Europe and the United States? What do you do to do that? Yeah, you could back the currency in gold or silver or both or whatever. But again, you run into a number of issues when you do that. right? You want to be able to handle the capital inflow and put it to use and not have it just overwhelm your system. And one of the and I've been talking about this on and off now for months, that the primary goal of the end of this administration, this term of Putin's term in office, was for the Bank of Russia to radically improve the professionalization of the Russian banking system, which is not particularly professional. It's not at the same. It's nowhere close to the same standards of service and sophistication and transaction handling and everything else, as the U.S. and the European system. And not saying that it's not saying that we're not more corrupt or less corrupt or whatever. Not saying that it's perfect, but at basic everyday banking functions, we have a lot of expertise. Yes, dipping your toe in by buying on Coinbase is not a bad idea. Coinbase is a little bit of a pain in the ass to work with. But and in my experience, the best way to get yourself funded is to get your bank account linked and then do a wire transfer. I've done the ACH transfer stuff, and it's a nightmare with them. And it took me weeks, and it wound up costing me money. By the time we actually got set up, my friend and I wanted to get set up, 3-4 weeks ahead of time. It took 4 weeks to finally get the thing done, and Ethereum doubled in price. We could have made we lost like $8,000 in potential profit on that. But but that's a great way to get dollars turned into cryptos, and then from there, moving them from exchange to exchange is just a matter of, starting a transaction, which is just send it from this account to that account. Go, pay a fee, you're done. Not hard, right? It's not. From there, it's very easy. And I moved a little bit of money out the other night onto Bitfinex to buy some EOS, and the limits on the credit cards are really, really tight because the fraud has been so tremendous. So yeah, if you want to toe dip by buying like $200, yeah, you can use a credit card. $200 to $500 is usually like the maximum anybody will let you buy on credit. But if you want to go that route, go that route. If you have 4 figures or higher, you're going to be looking at bank wires or ACH transfers. Yeah, exactly. And your credit card, and it depends. I mean, and your credit card has to approve them as a vendor. I know I couldn't use for the LLC that I have with my friend. I couldn't use that card. It just flat out wouldn't. I couldn't use it I can barely use it on the internet. It's really weird. They have it like bound down really tightly. Not that I mind that, mind you, but it does make it a little difficult. I mean, I can buy on Amazon with it, but if I'm like trying to buy, research reports and stuff, no, it's really, really tough, So it's a good thing we also have a PayPal account that works as well. And there's absolutely no path from PayPal into cryptos. They shut that down years ago. PayPal has no interest in that. So, EOS is not going to perform well until it's live, right? We're really early on that. You have to think of EOS like a penny stock. And okay, this is the next portion of my talk for the night. And honestly, I shouldn't be doing this one in public. I should really be doing this one in private. This one's worth too much money to be telling people that in public. Sorry, but I'll do it anyway. You've got to stop thinking of the cryptos as cryptocurrencies. You got to start thinking about them in terms of encoded blocks of information that have value, that represent a claim on something. So now let's think about EOS or Neo. It's another infrastructure platform one that's whose value is taking off like a shot this week. Or Ethereum, it doesn't really matter. They're all basically, there's a lot of these that are going to be out there, right? That are all going to do, or they're all going to wind up specializing in automating and building a platform for certain types of things in certain types of services. Doesn't that sound like a company? And if the tokens that are generated, don't they sound like shares of stock? You got to stop thinking about them as these currency units that you're going to trade and then use to go buy shit at Amazon with. I don't think we'll ever see Steam tokens traded at Amazon. I think Litecoin, yeah. Ethereum, yeah, probably. Bitcoin, certainly. Steam? I don't know, maybe. But what you're buying, what you have is shares in the company. Steam power that you vested in are vests in the company. And Steam makes no bones about this if you read the white paper. Okay? They say flat out, think of your vested power, your Steam power, as shares in the company. Okay, because there's only so much Steam power that's been sent out there, that's out there. The number of shares is going to grow at a specific rate. We're going to dilute the company by 9% this year, 8% next year, 7% next year, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so in effect doing capital raises. So you really have to think of them that way. And some of these new ones that are coming online, you have to think of like penny stocks. I look at EOS the same way that I look at a gold exploration company. To me, they're exactly the same thing. The initial coin offering is going to be like the first good mining, the first good exploration result, or first big capital raise that the company gets after buying a great land package. And then they do some spec drilling, and they hit 15 meters of 12 gram per ton gold, and they put out a press release, and the stock goes from 10 cents to $1.50, and all the initial investors who had warrants at 35 cents get out at that price, and then the stock collapses back down to 10 cents, but the initial investors get their money off the table, and the whole project has been capitalized tenfold, and now they have enough money to go and do the next 10 holes, and hopefully they'll hit gold again, and they could do that, and you do and there's a progression that mining stocks, exploration stocks goes through, and it's up and then down, and then it's up and then down, and then up and then down, and then and up again, and depending on how the results go over the course of a 3 to 5 year exploration period. Okay. That's just normally how this works. And if you have a company that has like a plan, buys a land package, and then executes on that specific plan, you have a company like Pretium Resources, I'm a big fan of, bought a property, did the thing, and moved through the whole process to the point of going into production, raising the capital at every step of the way, and doing the thing. You have to think of these cryptos as exactly the same kind of thing. You buy EOS now, you're not buying it for it to go up to $4 by December. You're buying it at $1.75 today, or $1.50 today, or $1.25 today. So you shouldn't have the bulk of your wealth in it. You should look at it the same way you would look at a penny stock. I'm going to take a small speculative bet on this crypto, on this new thing. If you're really going to do the mining share version of how you, or what, if you use that metaphor, then that's exactly what you should do. Is this: you should go and research 5 or 7 of these new cryptos when they're cheap, and buy them, and put $200 in each of them. One of them is going to be a 50 bagger. The other ones may do nothing. Shit, they may be scams and collapse. But you made 50x on the one, and you could lose 4, and you have $1,000 in 5 cryptos at $200 a piece. One of them is a 20 bagger, and you make $4,000 on that one, and you lost $800 on the rest of them. You're still up $3,000. If you don't think that works, that's how Rick Rule and Eric Sprott and all those guys made their millions. It's exactly how they did it. They found 10 good projects. They invested all of them at 9 cents. They bought warrants at 20 cents. They asked for full warrants at 20 cents, and then they just went to town with it. It's not as, and then, what they cared about was the warrant, their initial stake they were going to pull off the table and then use that to invest in another company. If it hits, cool. And then they walk away from the warrant. So in this instance, EOS trading at around $1.70 to $1.80. That's fine. Seems like it's holding the price. It may go down as low as $1.30. It might. It very well could. You're not losing time on that. If you're making money in other areas, like if your Ethereum doubles, right? Then you pull 5% of your double out and you put it into EOS at whatever the price is today. And don't worry about it. Yeah, I mean, if look at the pair on Bitfinex or whatever, and I'm using EOS as an example, but it doesn't really matter. Or you like Steam, you can buy Steam on OpenLedger, on BitShares. Fine, convert some of your profit in Ethereum into something else and start to diversify and start to take speculative bets. Play with other people's money. It's the way you should do it. You're not professional traders, so you're not thinking of it in those terms. And I'm gonna. And honestly, the valuations in these things are so crazy anyway. All you could possibly do is trade purely technically, and these are thin markets. You're asking for an ass kicking if you think you're going to trade them. So though I will say that I did a bang up job trading Steam against Steam dollars in the Steam market. I took like 4 Steam dollars and turned it into 40. During all the volatility and during June, it was really fun because the shit was moving. The ratio between them was moving 30%. So even if I traded badly and only caught half the move, I still made 15%. It's crazy. Can't do that now. I'm not interested in doing it. So I did it for a little while and it was kind of fun. Now you're trying to trade a falling market, which is a lot harder. So don't sweat that stuff. Look at it from that perspective that, okay, I'm going to pick up some of this along the way as I go along. And every time, my portfolios, every time my Ethereum goes up by 10 or 15%, I'm going to slough, a quarter of that profit off. You should always slough a quarter of the profit off at some point. Slough it off and stick it into something else. Go research if there's a crypto that you think is going to be good. I think everybody should have a little bit of Litecoin. I think everybody should have probably a little bit of Monero. I think everybody should have a little bit of BitShares at this point. I think it's just something you should own, because I think BitShares is going to wind up being the exchange of choice. I really do. I think it's what's going to happen, and I think that's part of what's going on here. Is that with the argument, with the announcement or the article that came out this week about spoofing that was going on Bitfinex? Think about that. And then like 4 days later, BitShares goes from 14 cents to 20 cents. I was watching a trade today. I was watching a trade versus Ethereum today, because I had a little bit of Ethereum that I converted a little bit of Steam into like 0.05 Ethereum, and then I moved that over to BitShares today to add to my BitShares account, because I'm basically playing around with like $30 worth of BitShares, right? Not playing around with much, just enough to make me feel like I still trade, not for any other reason. And but I was watching the bid and the ask, and the spread was really tight. There's a lot of volume going by the board, so there's plenty of liquidity. But there was this enormous block sitting at this price that was slowly being chipped away, and everybody was hitting that bid over and over and over again, and they were all just selling into that because they were converting out of Ethereum and into BitShares, because BitShares was breaking out versus the dollar, and Ethereum wasn't moving, so people were chipping it. But I was just watching, 2,000, 4,000, 2,000. I mean, I'm 90, right? But they're like, and I'm like, this is going to break. They're going to break this down, and it's going to go higher. Or the box so big, it's going to wear out the longs, and eventually the price will relax. But it's really interesting what's happening right now. Money is starting to move around the crypto space because people are getting to the point, they're beginning to realize it. They're beginning to believe, right? It's that moment in the Matrix, right? When the ever expanding Larry Fishburne just says, no, he's beginning to believe. And I think that's really where we are. So, is this thing still on? Are you guys still listening to me? Or am I just so fascinated you don't have anything to say? Shit. All right. Are we still good? All right. All right, that's fine. I'm just giving you. But this stuff is really fascinating. Where I know I'm going kind of high concept here. So, yeah, I think my YouTube page froze while I was trying to update, so I wasn't getting any of the. Yeah, I wasn't getting any of the new chats coming through, so I just wanted to make sure that we were all good. So, yeah, I know this is kind of high concept, but this kind of stuff, review what I just said, and I'll go over this stuff again, because I just threw a whole bunch of shit at you, and I know that this is not, this may not be in your bailiwick, right? So, but we've been doing that stuff. I've been, sitting here chatting for God knows how long now. Why don't we go and look at the charts? And I'm going to go and I'm going to bring up the chart. I was looking at the Ethereum chart. I wanted to show you some stuff. So, on Monday I put this chart up. This is the weekly chart of Ethereum. So every one of these bars is worth a week, right? So on Monday I noted that this bar was a can't type while writing. Nice. Okay, good. That's good. That's fine. All right. You need Halsey on as a guest. I probably do. One of these days I am going to do that. I'm going to pull in. I'll pull in a Skype video and we'll just do this. So when you're looking at, give me an idea of one of the things. When I look at things technically, I like to keep things really freaking simple, right? And we talked about this on Monday, and I'm going to go over it again. I don't draw trend lines, and I don't calculate moving averages. I can give a shit about RSI or really Fibonacci retracements or Ichimoku clouds or any of the other fucking bullshit. It's all crap, to be honest with you. It's all garbage. It's all just another way of codifying your confirmation bias. In a market, on any one day or any 1 week or whatever time period you're looking at, four things. The open, the high, the low, and the closing price. That's all you know. Everything else is a derivative of those four prices. Okay? So this is kind of like basic chart school. Okay? And believe me, I've been doing this shit since 1999. I finally got rid of all of the bullshit at around 2012 or 2011, 2012. And finally figured it out. And then figured out I was working with a guy. I was working with an excellent trader stationed in Vietnam who understood, and he taught it all to me. And I wish I had the temperament to be a good trader, because if I did, we wouldn't be doing these chats, because I would be independently wealthy and I'd own my own island. But I'm a terrible trader. Okay. But I can tell you what's going on with the market, and then I can tell you how to set up the trade, but I can't execute the trade. It's a really weird thing. All right. So this is a downtrend, right? And each time we had a huge volatile peak here, and then we had a close below this low. So this would be considered a 2-bar reversal, because it took 2 bars to close below the low of the last up bar, right? And so we have a 4, possibly 5, 6 week downtrend, right? And then look what happened the next week. Is this a reversal signal? Yes. Why? Because we closed above the high of this bar. So the high here was 236.22, and the low and the close here was 253.87. So that's a reversal. And then we also, to be honest, this is also a very high probability setup of breaking the previous week's high and going higher, and that's exactly what we did. We get a reversal signal here with a nice big fat open bar, and then boom, we get another $60 to the upside this week. And if we close tomorrow with the bar looking like that, to be honest, it's going to push us up towards 350 or 360. This will be your next point of resistance on the chart, somewhere around 365 to 377, if not the all-time high at 412. So Ethereum looks really good from a technical perspective. That's the weekly chart. If I show you the monthly chart, okay, the monthly chart's a little noisy, but we have the same thing going on. We had this huge breakout and move higher from like, what, $13 to $400. You would think that in 4 months, that move, that you'd at least get a 1 month worth of a close below, and we didn't. We didn't. We closed at 270.79, and we had a low of 198.99. So we didn't even throw a reversal here. And what happened? Boom. If we close in August above the high here, there was never any chance for this to even be a reversal signal. Insanely bullish, these charts. I show you the Bitcoin monthly chart. It's like the most bullish thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And I've been looking at markets for 20 years. Apple's monthly chart doesn't look this good. And Apple went from 9 to effectively 4,000, right? Over the course of 10 years. This is the Bitcoin monthly chart. There hasn't been a reversal signal thrown on Bitcoin on a monthly basis since a bearish monthly reversal on Bitcoin. Oh, I have to go back to here where I can't even see it because none of these are reversal signals. We got a downtrend from this move back in 2013 down to, but this wasn't a reversal because this bar was so freaking huge. So I guess technically this would be a reversal signal right here. But look at this thing. Look at this. Now, normally I would say this is going parabolic and it's going to crash. But the fundamentals are different today. The market conditions are different today. I've got this going on while I've got the euro is standing right here at $1.18.2. When I show you the chart of the euro, I'm going to show you a chart that's unbelievably offside compared to where it needs to be. Look at this friggin' chart. This is the weekly chart of the euro this year. The euro's moved over 14% this year. It doesn't look like it's going to slow down. And I put this up in the last scope. I put up the quarterly chart that my target on the euro before the end of the year could be as high as $1.28. And at $1.28, the euro is absolutely overvalued. And it's going to crush the European sovereign debt market. We're already starting to see this. So as the currency moves higher, the bonds should be moving lower in price or higher in yield. Again, I'm going to probably go way too fast for you guys. But I'll do it anyway. Because so when you're looking at and in the Eurozone, you only care about two countries' bonds. You care about France and Germany, and really you care about Germany. And so you look at German 10 years. And I'll show you the chart of the German 10-year. Crazy. And there's the German 10-year bond. Now, this looks like now the lower the yield, the higher the price, right? That's the way bonds work. So if the yield is rising, and this is yield, okay, this is 0.832%. The German bonds have moved up, what we say 50 to 60 basis points so far this year, or since last fall, because the currency is moving higher and the bond yields should be moving in tandem with it, because as the currency moves higher, the issue is, you're absolutely right. The issue is that it's a lot of debt in the Eurozone is dollar-based. Well, not just the euro, but in general. The problem with the euro is that there's 17 different countries that can issue euro-denominated debt, and they all have different credit ratings. And they all have different labor capacities, and they all have, or industrial capacities, and they all have different labor competitive rate. Their labor is all different. Okay? So you can't aggregate that. Italian bonds have a different risk premium than German bonds do. And so while the yield on them is different, that's fine, but they're all based in the same currency, which is tearing them apart. Because while Germany may want a stronger euro, or the Italians may need a weaker euro, and they're all trading on the same exchange rate. And that's what's tearing the euro apart. It's been tearing the euro apart for 30 years. We're now at at that point, okay? But look at what happened this week. Look at what happened I want to show you something in silver. I know I wrote a blog about this yesterday. And I normally keep this stuff behind behind either the paywall for the patrons or the subscribers over at Seeking Alpha, or at least get paid for this stuff. I rarely put it out for free, but I have to put some of this stuff out in the free world, just to teach people. But look at what happened in silver this week. I'm going to show you something that is incredibly rare, and it sticks out to me like an absolute sore thumb. I wish I could make this so I can make it bigger so you can actually see it. Okay, but I want to show you these last 2 weeks. What's interesting about the last 2 weeks in silver is that in both weeks we violated the previous week's low and the previous week's high. No, it would make it worse. It would make it absolutely worse. Okay, so look at what happened in silver this week. Now, this is a brutal downtrend here. I mean, this is absolutely brutal, what's been going on in silver. There's no way to argue that that's anything other than a brutally bearish chart. It's only a weekly chart, so it's only from July. So it's only from basically Brexit, where there's this big high above $21, down to $15. Okay, that's not what's the horrible part. But what's interesting here is that, in what I call engulfing bars, or bars where you break both the previous low and the previous high, are usually very rare. They use average stock with normal volatility. They happen about 5 to 7% of the time. That's it, right? So in a year of 52 trading weeks, you might get 1 or 2 engulfing bars. Okay? In a year of 200 trading days, you might get 5% of 200, 4 or 5 engulfing bars. In silver, they happen about 13% of the time, which is insanely volatile. But silver would be considered a high beta or a high volatility issue. Okay? We get back-to-back bars that are like this, that are engulfing bars. This is not normal. And the first one was a 1-bar reversal signal. This closed below this low. And this should have dropped this week. Silver was setting up to drop hard. And then look what happened. It opens shittily, and it broke the previous low. I'm like, here we go. And everybody was piling in. And then all of a sudden, North Korea started. And then we got a huge move to the upside, breaking above what amounts to pretty solid horizontal resistance here between 1660 and 1680, and we closed this week above $17. That's a significant move. I went back and I checked my trading statistics. I've got big spreadsheets on this shit. I could show them to you, but it's kind of crazy. That go back 5-6 years with all the data for the last 6 years, and then some very basic data manipulation that goes along with them. Only 4 times in the last 5 years has silver thrown off back-to-back weekly engulfing bars. And every time they either marked a major top or a reversal, a major reversal. All right. So to me, I've been handicapping a massive washout in the metals because I'm expecting there to be a big rally in the dollar, which then was going to which is going to First, we're going to get a big rally in the euro. That's going to crush euro liquidity. It's going to precipitate a banking crisis in Europe. And then all that money is going to flow into the United States because there's all this dollar-denominated debt, like Green Penguin pointed out. It's your JJ, right? If I remember correctly. And that's going to take us... That's what's going to cause the dollar to then spike, go in the opposite direction and spike. And that should take gold and silver down on pure dollar liquidity issues because gold is easy to sell when you need to raise dollars because there's always somebody on the other side of the trade for gold. It's not like a bond or or anything else. Can you hear me? Am I there? I think I lost y'all. I stopped the stream and restarted it. Let's see where we are. Okay. We're still dropping frames. I'm not sure what's going on. All right, I'm going to close this down. I just think my bandwidth is really spotty tonight. All right. I'm really worried. Okay, so what was the last thing you guys heard? And I'm going to have to go in a little bit anyway, but what was the last thing you heard? Yeah, because I can hear Camille banging around downstairs, so it's about time for me to go home. Yeah, we may. It may be to the point where I may have to go because I'm watching the quality of the stream is really poor, and I'm wondering if Camille's phone is now uploading shit again. So, yeah, I'm gonna have to go, I think. Yeah, I'm losing 60% of my frames at this point. All right, guys. I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you, and we'll try this again. Silver, big ether reversal or big jump. You were talking about the double engulfing bars. Okay, so what happened in silver, I'll go over this real quick. And if you don't have, and check the blog post that I put up at my blog at tomluongo.me. You can't, it goes over it in kind of grave detail. What's important to understand is that's only happened like 4 times in the last 5 years. And every time it's marked a major change in the market. And if at least for the next 4 to 6 months. Therefore, this may be a moment where we may get a bigger rally in silver here than anybody's expecting. So I'm going to leave it at that. We'll go over more of this in the future. We'll try this again on Monday night. All right. When I don't have people trying to kill my stream. All right. I will talk to you guys soon. I got to get going. We'll talk again on